All right, it's 11:03. Let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining us, the Nucleate New Haven Showcase this year. We have 4 fabulous teams that's presenting their pitch today for you. We've been working with them for the past 4 or 6 months, and all of them are amazing. I just want to go over the agenda a little bit. My name is Boe Den. I'm a 4th year pharmacology PhD candidate at Yale, and my co-MD here is with me.
Hi, I'm Andrew Hudak. I'm also a PhD student here at Yale, and we're co-managing directors of Nucleate New Haven.
Yes, we've been running Nucleate New Haven for the past year, and we'll have a very short opening remark followed by the pitches and then closing after that. And before we go to the pitches, I do want to talk a little bit more about Nucleate, our activator program, and Nucleate New Haven. So about Nucleate, we are a nonprofit global organization run solely by students to try to empower the next generation of biotech leaders. And we have around 40 different chapters around the globe with 400 plus institution associations and run by 800 plus student leaders that are volunteering their time. And since our inception in 2020, we have helped around 660 companies raise around $1 billion and create over 1,000 jobs because of the things that we've done for the past 6 years. And this wouldn't be possible with our expert networks that voluntarily and generously dedicated their time for our teams for the past 6 years. And our HQ sponsor, headquarters sponsor, and you can see their names here, and they've been very generous for their grant money and also their time to try to support the next generation of biotech companies. And in terms of the activator itself, in 2026, well, I can go to the next page first. So in 2026, we have screened over 2,000 companies and accepted 180 into our cohort. And today, you'll be hearing from 4 of them based in New Haven. But if you're interested, you can always search us up and then try to get connected to other regions to try to see what's available out there. And also just talk to Andrew and me if you're interested in learning more. And in terms of the activator impact, we've collectively helped over 300 companies since 2020, and around 630 million have been raised and 400 plus jobs have been created. And we are really dedicated to try to bridge the gap between academia and venture founding, and then try to help postdocs and PhD students like us to turn ideas into companies. And I'll pass it to Andrew to continue this.
Thanks, Boe. So before we get into pitches, I'll talk a little bit about our activator that we ran here in New Haven. So this year we have 5 startups that are all academic spinouts from Yale, and they've gone over the last 6 months through our activator program. So the activator program is essentially a 7-part series where we focus on different aspects of venture formation. So we kicked off this year's program with a workshop with Kanan. We had Colleen Cafaro, who's a partner at the firm, walk our teams through the basics, everything from fundraising to scientific risk. We then moved through the program. We had a workshop on market risk. Many of the workshops that were not partnered out, we had specific one-on-one experts that we recruited for each of the teams that focused on their specific technologies. We then had a 3-part legal workshop that was partnered out with our friends at Wigan and Dana. We had an IP workshop, a legal boot camp, and a mock term sheet negotiation. As we moved through the program, throughout the spring, we had a venture. We were fortunate enough to work with Yale Ventures to have a 3-part series called Venture Labs. And I think Min Kim is here. I'd like to give a special thanks to Min for helping us organize these. These are essentially tailored sections for each of our 5 startups that Min and her team kindly recruited specific experts to work with the teams in a 90-minute session, which were incredibly helpful for each of our startups. So the rest of the program is here, but in short, these teams have been working very hard over the last 6 months to get their academic spinouts into something that more so resembles a company. And we even have one of our teams that's basically almost closed their funding round in this short period. So this is our local leadership team. We're made up entirely of students, so mostly PhD students. We have MD students, MBA students, and a handful of undergrads that help us run our program here. So we're incredibly grateful for them. And these are our advisors. We've added these over the last couple years, and they're basically folks that help us with strategy, help us best support the startups in our current cohort. So we'd like to thank Craig, Kyle, and Bill for all their support. And lastly, this is a list of all the mentors and experts that have helped our team over the last 6 months. I'll just give a couple shout outs to a couple folks who have been helping us since the 2024 activator, specifically Alex Thompson from DTN Ventures, who's been one of our sponsors and partners for the last 3 years, Liam Crute at Reinforce Ventures, Austin Draycott, who's actually a member of our 2023 cohort, who's now CEO of Cloverleaf Bio. Also, again, thanks again to Min for all of her help from the Yale Ventures side, and Jim Boyle. And, everyone else here. It's really, kind of a community effort that's really helped build all these startups over the last 6 months. So lastly, I'll end with thanking our regional sponsors. So Wigan and Dana was our gold sponsor this year. They, sponsored our program, and they're also giving $5,000 in free legal service to the top team that pitches today. So we're very grateful for their partnership. We'd also like to thank Biolabs. Marianne Melnick is here, who's been a huge supporter of us over the last 3 activator cycles. Again, DTN Ventures, a key partner. Yale Ventures, we're really grateful to be here at the Innvation Summit for the first time this year, and hopefully we'll be back again next year. And thanks to our other partners, JP Morgan, the School of Management, and the Sci Center for Innovative Thinking at Yale. So now we're going to move into the demo day pitches. Very brief logistics. Each team will have 9 minutes to present. Then we'll open it up for 3 minutes from questions from the audience. So we'll have mics that we'll pass around. Again, we're really excited to be offering the Wigan Venture Catalyst Award today, which is $5,000 of legal services. I see Adam Silverman's here, our friend from Wigan. And then just a reminder, this is a non-confidential program and it's educational in nature, so keep that in mind. So we have 5 teams in our cohort this year. 4 of them are pitching today. So we'll get started first with Define 3D, and I'll have Frank come up. Thank you.
Is that mouse here?
Yeah.
Is mouse can do? Okay. Hi, everybody. Let's see. There we are. Okay. We are defined. We are an AI-powered tumor intelligence company with the goal to having a volumetric precision monitoring for neuro-oncology and beyond. So, let's... Maybe? Okay. Okay, we're going to use the mouse. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to start off with Jordan. Jordan is a patient here at Yale who has a rare disease called neurofibromatosis. He was seen in my clinic starting 2 years ago. Prior to that, he had 6 radiological evaluations for tumors in his brain. If you look at the tumor on the left, this is how radiology typically looks at tumors. They get a left, they get a right. It's called a volumetric, it's called a linear measurement. The linear measurement, it does not give you a precise, accurate evaluation. If you look to the right, and we will have, well, the video is not going to play, but what we show is we have a 3D rendering of that tumor. And what we can do is we can look at it over the time of 6 years, and we can see the concavity, the convexity of the tumor. We can look at it from the surrounding tissue and see the impact that that tumor has, because all tumors are not linear measurements. They are 3D complex tissue. And so if you look at the graph on the bottom, you see that our evaluation that we found is that there was 177% growth of that tumor over 6 years of time. And unfortunately, that tumor is now inoperable because the radiologist missed it. So, why volumetrics are the new standard? Okay? First, we talk about the inconsistent 2D monitoring. We have shown that in that last slide that the tumor was not able to see a true representation of what it looks like. We have manual volumetrics that are time intensive. What we just showed you takes about 2 hours to do if we were doing it person to person. Our AI system does it in 2 minutes. We have limited availability. We're lucky we're here at Yale. We are tremendously lucky. But in the rural towns, in the rural America, we do not have this. They do not have this. And these geometric assumptions do not create error. So if I was a radiologist and we have 100 people in this room, have a radiologist, we'd have 101 different opinions. So why now? Well, we have standardization now for volumetrics. We have superior AI models that are out there that we're talking about at this conference. We have a rapid GPU interface. We have a cloud-based AI healthcare system. We just talked about it with the state of Connecticut being here earlier. And we have a clear FDA pathway for our AI technologies to go through it with the passing of a bill that happened a year and a half ago. So, how does it work with us? Our 3D segmentation is bound with a preciseness. We have a less than a 5% error rate compared to radiologists who have a 40% error rate. The growth tracking, we have the ability to go back 4 years, 5 years, 10 years of time and evaluate this. We can then take this and put this into a model for surgical planning to evaluate this through the time. And we have PAC integration by the end of Q3. So this is how we get it. We get an MRI image from a local hospital. It turns it into a DICOM. We upload it to our AWS platform. From there, we get volumetrics of that, and we can get a generated report for that patient or for that hospital. Here's the market opportunity. If we only look at the one tumor that we have gotten so far, which is called the vestibular schwannoma, for the US, $80.8 million. If we take that and we look at neuro-oncology, then we go to 750, and we think about just the global brain for the US, it's 3.5 billion. Now, what I haven't told you is we have not talked about China. We have not talked about outside areas. We have not gone anywhere below the neck. So any type of tumor that is in cancer for the pancreas, the liver, kidney, we can hit that too. So here's our business model. Phase one, what we are thinking about, and we have a CPT code, which is 0866T, which reimburses the patient or the hospital for anywhere from $700 to $1,000 per model based on the hospital size. Phase two, what we're going to do is a licensing deal, starting at the base minimum of $180K and going up to $500K based on a silver, gold, platinum plan. What we love to do and what we are going to be doing in the next couple of years is then going to GE, Siemens, and Philips for a licensing model. If you think about this, GE, Siemens, and Philips have over 10,000 MRI machines within the United States alone. If we integrate our software with them, they are allowed, what we will be able to do is licenses out to anyone in the United States, and then we can go more broad to go international. So, our traction. We have a mean DICE score of 0.88. So, for those who don't understand what a DICE score is, it's the evaluation of the AI software to someone who's doing a manual segmentation. And the minimum score is 0.6. We are at 0.88 for this one model. We already are working on second, third, and fourth models, which are even higher of a DICE score. We've been selected for the NSF Golden Ticket, and we've actually started the NSF Nationals last week. We have published 5 articles in 2025. We published 3 already in 2026, and we have 3 more ready for publication. We've gotten $300,000 in institutional support. We have a clinical trial, which is a contract under the way, which will be signed in Q3 of 2026 for a phase 2A clinical trial for roughly $1.4 million. And we have a provisional IP that we have already established. If you look at the competitive landscape, there are 5 other companies that are doing what we are trying to do. But if you look at it, we are the only one that is able to do a 3D model. We're the only one that has that rapid visualization and look at longitudinal change. Most of these companies can only do 1 or 2 years back. As I said, we can do 10. And we will hopefully be FDA cleared by the end of 2026. So I want to just talk about our lasting advantages. I know I'm limited on time, but I want to make sure that I have opportunity to answer all your questions. We have a proprietary data set. This code was created here at Yale. It's going to stay here at Yale. We have growth algorithms so we can evaluate what we are looking at from now to pass, and then what we are going to move forward to is to be able to forecast growth from now to 3 months, 6 months, and a year out. No one else is doing that. We have a workflow integration with PAC system. We have the code already created for working with Yale. We have observations for development with Johns Hopkins and University of Texas Southwestern, and we have that regulatory barrier. We already have the 510K infrastructure for the build out, and we will be 12 to 18 months ahead of any other competitor. So here's our roadmap. We've already started our workflows with Yale, University of Texas Southwestern, and Hopkins. We are publishing, as we talked about, we are going to be submitting for our Q3 for our FDA indication, and we want to expand our locations from 3 sites to 5 sites by the end of Q3 to Q4. And with the idea of a commercial rollout will happen in 2027. With the remaining time, I want to just, this is my team. I have a CMO or executive medical director from University of Texas Southwestern, who is a oncologist and neurologist. I have a chief technical officer who is currently working at Google. Kenza, who is a godsend, I will say. We found her through Nucleate, so thank you, big props to Nucleate for all of that. And then Stephen Tomasini is my scientific founder. My advisory board, Jeff Hirsch is a former CMO of GE Health. So I have that connection for when we move forward. Stephen Grant, Lisa Latanza is the chair of orthopedics oncology, and Jay and Bill have been wonderful. With that, I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you all for listening, and I'm open to any and all your questions. Also, I am a little bit of hard of hearing, so if you can speak up too, that'd be great.
When I get you the mic, be sure to say your name and company.
So I'm Eva Wang. I'm a venture partner at a VC firm.
One sec.
Could you clarify? So your software algorithm is tracking the change of the size and the volume longitudinally, right? Is that
Yes,
the
ma'am.
key thing? So given that, what percentage of the cancer are missed due to improper detection of the size volume change as today?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong,
I have a follow-up.
you're asking for the error rate of what we're missing?
Yeah, not you. I'm trying to figure out the economics, health economics, right?
Sure.
So you are trying to detect the ones that miss as today. Because the size and volume change you currently cannot detect leads to later surgery or other diagnosis, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what percentage your software actually solving that problem?
So Right now, as you saw, we have a dice score of 0.88. We have an accuracy rating of 95% with that one tumor that we have done already. So if we asked 100 radiologists to look at our software, we just published an article on this in 2026. We've shown that our data is more accurate than what a current radiologist or current radiologists are doing.
Right. Do you know the percentage you're saving?
Say it again.
The percentage of false negatives.
So you're talking about
saving?
type 1, type 2 error? I do not have that information for you, but it's a great question.
Also, I wanted to know, so I'm Linda Zane from NCIS BIR. Do you have a different error rate depending on the size of the tumor? Like if it's a very small tumor size, do you have higher error rate? Or?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. We have shown that if a tumor is 2 millimeters or if it's 4 centimeters, we have the accuracy does not change. And so we can go from anywhere as small as 0.1 millimeter all the way up to our biggest tumor that we think we have is 6 centimeters.
And the location also matters? The location in the brain?
Just for the vestibuloschwannoma is only located in the inner ear. We are currently working on meningioma, cardoma, and astrocytoma right now. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. And next up we have Rylan from Indus Bio, and then also Keith.
So really grateful for the opportunity to present Indus Bio. Our goal is to translate single patient biology into a scalable therapeutic discovery platform for rare skin diseases. So we recognize that skin disease is incredibly common in the population, with 1 in 4 individuals at any point having skin disease. But when we think about rare skin disease, it's a much smaller fraction of the population, with about 100,000 to 300,000 individuals in the United States having these disorders. The focus of Indus is really primarily on monogenic epidermal differentiation disorders, previously known as ichthyoses. There's about 20 to 25,000 severe cases that are present within the U.S. population. And I'll show you 3 canonical disorders here. The first is lamellar ichthyosis due to transglutaminase 1 mutations. This is an enzyme that's responsible for cross-linking proteins and keratinocytes, which are the primary cell type of the skin. When that enzyme goes bad, we get accumulation of thick plate-like scale and myriad other complications. The second disorder is ichthyosis with confetti. This is a disorder which is remarkable for a couple of things. One, it's very severe. The other is all of those white spots are actually genetic self-correction. We believe that ichthyosis with confetti will be a paradigm for therapeutic recombination of mutant alleles, not only in skin disease, but broadly across many disorders, including cancer. Finally, I show you Netherton syndrome, which is a severe disorder due to SPINK5 mutations. This is a disorder of excessive desquamation. So ultimately, if we look at EDDs writ large, we recognize that there are mutations in about 100 genes that can cause these disorders, and they converge on a common pathway of defective skin barrier function. We know that they have profound effects on quality of life, with severe lifelong medical complications, high perinatal lethality, infection, dehydration, body image distress and social stigma, and significant time and financial burden of managing disease. And remarkably, despite the fact that we've known the genetic basis of these disorders for over 30 years now, we have no FDA-approved therapies. So we have at Yale amassed a very large cohort of kindreds, about 1,500 now, who have these monogenic disorders. In the course of doing this, have not only created a cohort of individuals that have canonical genotypes, we've also identified over a dozen new genetic causes of EDD. As we look across the classes of monogenic EDD, we recognize that Today, 50% have a therapeutically tractable genetic mechanism. That means that there's about 10,000 patient serviceable lives right now. And as we've seen from other companies like Crystal that have moved forward therapeutics for monogenic disease, the estimated price per year is about 100,000 to 300,000. So we recognize that there's about a 640 million to 2 billion market opportunity represented within these disorders. And so I'll turn the floor over to my co-founder and chief technology lead, Riley.
So the approach we're using to generate actionable therapeutic strategies in EDD is starting from patient sample directly. So we're taking advantage of the massive biobank that Keith mentioned that has been accumulated through the Choate Lab and our genetics collaborators here at Yale, which has over 1,500 families of affected EDD individuals with comprehensive phenotype and genomic data, as well as biosamples from over 500 individuals, including skin biopsies. Critically, we've done single-cell spatial transcriptomics on over 100 samples from monogenic EDDs, which forms the basis of our discovery engine. So the way the discovery engine works is that using spatial transcriptomics, we discover dysregulated biology directly in patient samples. We use computational approaches to infer therapeutic targets based on perturbation data sets, as well as other publicly available databases. And then we validate pathways using an engineered skin tissue model. So the goal of this approach is not to study biology, but to actually generate prioritized therapeutic candidate lists from single patient biology. So as proof of principle, we're showing an example, which is a genetic skin disease due to mutations in the gene EMP2, which causes plaques of severe red scaly skin and thickened skin on the palms and soles. We did spatial transcriptomics of affected skin from 2 individuals with EMP2 NED, and we found increased signaling through the epidermal growth factor, EGFR receptor, which we later validated in patient cells and tissue. This led to a pathogenesis-based therapeutic treatment with the therapeutic erlotinib, which is FDA approved for lung cancer and repurposed with a successful dramatic response in both patients that we've treated with this. So we don't think that this story is unique to EMP2. We think that this can be replicated across EDDs, and we want to build the computational and experimental infrastructure to do so. So our business strategy rests on the assumption that this pipeline can generate multiple diverse, valuable assets. We start with the engine that I just described, which integrates spatial transcriptomic data with clinical and genomic data. And what we end up with is a biomarker-defined asset package. What we mean by biomarker-defined is that any therapeutic intervention is automatically tied to a patient population, a molecular readout of efficacy, and a clinical endpoint because we're starting from patient biology. This paves the way for 3 different commercial strategies. The first is repurposed approved therapies, especially if there's clinical safety data already existing. The second is creating novel formulations or new indications for existing IP. The third is discovering novel targets that can be out-licensed or developed in-house. So we believe this will help us generate a portfolio that has both fast translational wins as well as novel biology with the associated intellectual property to continue to grow this venture. So why are we the right team to do this? Keith has decades of experience in human genetics, monogenic skin diseases, and skin biology. And what him and his lab have shown through these decades of research is that investigating biology and rare diseases can lead to mechanistic insights and therapeutic pathways. I focus on the technology development of the spatial transcriptomic and computational platform. And we have diverse experience at Yale in molecular biology, human genetics, and the business infrastructure associated with the Yale entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem here. So in summary, we think that our unique access to patient samples and our unique expertise within this space makes us well poised to start this venture, and that those things are necessary to achieve innovation in this space. So our goal is to raise funds to bring one asset to IND or phase 1 ready within the next 2 years. We've already made progress by earning a provisional patent for our approach filed by Yale. the key milestones for us on the technical side are to establish our in vitro models for efficacy testing, as well as close the loop on our computational prioritization framework to incorporate our in vitro and our clinical data into our computational prioritization framework. And then our business milestones involve raising non-dilutive funding, followed by eventually raising venture capital funding to scale this venture up. And I'd like to thank Nucleate and our contributors through the Nucleate program, as well as the Yale Innovation and Entrepreneurship Clinic at the law school as well for their progress this year. So with that, to summarize, Indusys Bio is building a platform for therapeutic discovery in rare skin diseases. And we'd love to take any of your questions now. Thanks.
Since you are developing this platform and this skin model, this 3D skin model for therapeutic discovery, did you talk to FDA, because FDA is pushing for these NAMs? So did you talk to FDA to see how you could have this model kind of approved for therapeutic testing?
Yeah, I didn't quite hear. Talk to FDA about, you said.
So FDA is pushing for these new alternative methods, instead of in vivo testing. And since you are developing these 3D skin models, I was wondering if you were working with them or if you started to talk to FDA about having to basically know how to develop your technology to have it kind of accepted, approved by FDA to be used as a therapeutic model, like to test therapeutic?
Yeah.
I can take that.
So, ultimately, I think you're absolutely right that this is a critical opportunity with the FDA as we think about moving into new ways to test drugs. This is actually a paradigm that we developed at Stanford around Zeviskin, which is being used to treat EB. Same idea, but in this case, not going back to patients, but being used in culture to be able to have direct functional readouts. And so your idea of partnering with the FDA on this is really brilliant.
Next up, we have Save HBAR. Gao Yuan is presenting. If you want to go that way, should be working.
That's the slide? Okay. And this is the... Oops. Oh. Let me go back. Okay. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Gao Yuan. I'm a researcher at Yale. Together with Mark, a professor at Yale, we are building Safe HBAR to enable secure deployment of quantum computing in biotech so that this field can fully take advantage of this breakthrough technology. Quantum computing has the potential to transform life science and biotech. By leveraging quantum phenomena such as superposition and entanglement to solve highly complex problems. Its applications span quantum chemistry, optimization problems, and machine learning, areas critical to drug discovery and biomedical research. And this shift is already underway. Quantum computing are already solving narrow real-world problems today, with leading vendors projecting early fault-tolerant quantum computing for large-scale application within this decade. But there is one critical emerging challenge from promise to reality: privacy. A major barrier to adoption in regulated industries is the secured access. Quantum computing is cloud native, meaning sensitive biomedical data often must be sent to remote quantum hardware, something many healthcare and life science organizations cannot permit. Another challenge is the lack of privacy-preserving frameworks for multi-party analysis. But for biomedicine, often it is required to pull data from multiple sites in order to achieve sufficient statistical power. Without a secure collaboration infrastructure, this type of analysis will be impossible or very difficult. As a result, the sensitive nature of biomedical data limits the adoption of quantum computing in life sciences, restricting access for quantum hardware providers while also preventing biomedical research to fully benefit from this breakthrough technology. Current quantum privacy solutions adopted by other companies generally fall into two categories. The first one is to adapt classical security frameworks to quantum systems to build those hybrid security frameworks. The problem is there is that the underlying security mechanisms were never built for quantum hardwares, leading to the fact that they often suffer from significant communication and computational overhead. Second are quantum native approaches, such as blind quantum computing. Those methods provide zero knowledge privacy guarantees, but at the cost of very high resource consumptions. As a result, they are often too resource intensive for scalable data access and analysis. In many biomedical data analysis settings, some level of population information is always public. So we find a full zero knowledge privacy often unnecessary. We identified a middle ground, which we call quantum native confidential computing, a practical privacy framework designed specifically for quantum systems that protects individual level data while enabling scalable and efficient data access and analysis. Let me introduce SafeHBAR. At SafeHBAR, we leverage quantum properties to create privatized quantum representations and privacy-preserving analysis protocols to enable secure quantum deployment without exposing end users' raw data to quantum hardware providers. So instead of sharing sensitive biomedical data directly, users share those privatized quantum representations that preserve the information needed for computation while also protecting the individual level privacy. Quantum hardware providers can then perform the required analysis on these representations securely. This approach is both practical and secure. Analysis performed on the privatized quantum representation closely approximate results on the original data, while making the reconstruction of individual level information infeasible and providing strong resistance against membership inference attacks. Here is how it looks like in practice. Organizations like pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, and research institutions often partner with quantum hardware providers to run advanced analysis. However, company policies, IP concerns, and regulatory constraints prevent them from sharing raw sensitive data. So the bottleneck here is not only the quantum access, it is also getting the proprietary pharma and patient-linked data into quantum workloads without exposing the raw data. SafeHBAR bridges this gap by adding a privacy layer that allows sensitive data to securely reach quantum hardware for computation without exposing the underlying raw information. Our business model is centered on embedding our privacy layer directly into biotech quantum research and development pipelines. We generate revenue through three primary channels. First, we will establish annual licensing partnerships with quantum as a service providers, meaning those quantum hardware vendors, including API integration and basic deployment support, creating a recurring platform licensing revenue. Second, we will also offer direct integration into end users' quantum workflows, enabling secure data usage within their existing research pipelines. Third, we will provide client-specific privacy solutions tailored to end users' needs, which can be embedded by quantum as a service provider into their service offerings or delivered directly. We will capture value either through royalties on those service contracts or directly enterprise agreements. While pricing is still being refined, early market research suggests that contracts could still scale between 1 to 3 million annually per major vendor and enterprise partnership. So we see a significant market opportunity driven by the fact that privacy is a key gating factor for quantum adoption in biotech. Our focus spans both quantum vendors and enterprise end users in life sciences. Importantly, for quantum hardware vendors, integrating SafeHBAR unlocks access in currently blocked, regulation-constrained market opportunities, and for enterprise end users, it enables secure access to quantum capabilities that are otherwise inaccessible under current privacy limitations. So far, we have already proven the core technology. We have proven the formal privacy guarantees, demonstrated utility, and provided strong validation through simulations. We've also filed a US patent and submitted a manuscript. Looking ahead, our near-term focus is to engage with quantum biotech end users and their quantum hardware vendors, as well as engaging with data vendors. We want to validate our prototype on the corresponding target quantum hardware platforms. In parallel, we are working to define a clear regulatory certification pathway and expand our IP portfolio to cover additional quantum privacy primitives. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for that presentation. I'm Hong with Define Ventures, an early health tech venture fund. I'm curious about what the growth is of using quantum computing in life sciences. I know Lily's made a big splash. I really haven't heard a lot, and it looks like your SOM says there's maybe 15 to 20. So I'd love to hear about what that growth and when and where they're using us versus any other type of computing.
Yeah. So currently, life science. So currently, quantum computing has like a market share of 1.5 billion from last year, with a projection of very fast growth over the next few years. Currently, life science takes about maybe 10% of the entire market share, with the growth being even faster than the overall market growth because it is becoming more and more important as an end user. So our technology originally designed for biomedical data science, quantum, of course, would help all those pharma companies, biotech end users to access this market, potentially also help to expand this market if the current usage in this area is blocked by privacy issues. In addition to that, what our company, those solutions that we can provide can be applied beyond just biotech use cases. It could also be adopted to financial services in case there are also sensitive data one needs to take care of when considering operating on them in a remote quantum hardware. Does that answer the question?
And next up, we have urologic design.
All right. Pretty sure these guys scheduled us right before lunch intentionally. We're excited to be talking to you today about urologic design, which is a company that we're working on to develop a better solution for people to manage urinary incontinence. It's probably something you've hopefully not thought a lot about before, but by the end of this presentation, our hope is that you'll recognize this is a big patient need with not great solutions. It's a great business, and it also has a really important environmental benefit that we're happy to share too. So my name is Henry Ritter. I'm the company's CEO and co-founder. I graduated recently from Yale doing the joint program between the business school and the environment school. And
I'm David Hess. I'm an associate professor of urology in the School of Medicine. I've been at Yale for 35 years.
And so just to level set on sort of what we're talking about today, urinary incontinence is a massive and hidden problem around the world. It's something I didn't appreciate before getting involved with David. And in fact, we met a year ago at this summit, so we're excited to share the progress we've made since then. But in fact, this is a big problem. 25 million people in the US have it, over 400 million people globally. David likes to say, if this was a country, this would be the third largest country in the world. And these people spend a ton of money trying to solve this problem in ways that we'll show are not very effective. But it's $20 billion globally each year, and it's growing at quite a fast clip just because of aging demographics in developed countries.
These are the patients I see. Thomas had a radical prostatectomy. His prostate cancer occurred. He had salvage radiation. He's totally incontinent. He alternates between diapers, washcloths inside of a diaper. Sometimes he has a clamp, looks like a clothespin that he puts across his penis to try and control his urine flow. Amy had bladder cancer. She underwent successful surgery to remove the cancer. We built her an artificial bladder. We cured her cancer, but we didn't do a very good job of managing her urinary incontinence. She goes through 6 pads a day. She's scared to go to airports where she carries a suitcase full of diapers that she has to show to TSA. And we have Rob, who did not have cancer. He had an enlarged prostate. He went for an elective surgery to open up an obstructive gland. Became totally incontinent. He has a catheter. He has a condom catheter that's placed around the penis, attached to a tube that collects urine in a specimen in a container strapped to his leg. These people are isolated. They're wallowing in urine. They have a terrible life. There's not a lot of options available to these people. Conservative therapies, pelvic floor therapy doesn't really work for these folks. There are items on the market which we can go into, penile clamps, intraoral catheters, silicone plugs. The default is diapers, which is a $15 billion market out there. And the alternative to that is surgery. Artificial sphincters can be placed. We can put bulking agents in the bladder neck. They don't really work. There's not a very good alternative to what these people need.
And so the device we've been developing is codenamed UroPlug. It is a self-administered single-use urethral occlusion device. What does that mean? Basically, it's a single-use plug. It's forming a temporary artificial sphincter in your urethra that allows your bladder to feel like normal, replacing the sphincter that's not working for people who have urinary incontinence. How it works is this is a tiny device. It looks kind of maybe big and scary on the screen. It's smaller than a Tic Tac. It's basically compressed foam housed in a gel cap with a string attached to basically remove it. You insert it basically a centimeter in, very shallow distance. At that point, the gel cap dissolves, allowing the foam to expand, and then it basically serves the job of acting like a plug that you don't have. So then you can go about your life. Your bladder will feel like normal. Once you have the urgency to void like anyone else, you simply squeeze it to remove it, dispose of it, go to the bathroom, and you can replace it with a new one. This is a sterile device. It's single use. So we're basically designing it around making sure that there are not any UTI risks. A big thing people wonder about is, this sounds like the worst thing in the world. I would never do this. But in fact, it's actually not that bad. David's tried the prototype himself. And not only that, I will say I have tried a version of it myself with the gel cap, and it's basically not as bad as you think it might be.
We have a co-founder, Barry Nalbuff, who also tried it, and he did well. And like Barry likes to say, it goes in small, gets big, comes out small.
And so if you want to work on this team, you know the entry requirements. But I assure you it's not as bad as it sounds. And I think the point to emphasize here is these people have really miserable alternatives. Your alternative is sitting in a wet diaper, wearing a clamp. For women, often it's vaginal inserts like pessaries, or literally strapping a bag to your leg. I mean, these are not good options. So we envision this as something that can basically give these patients their dignity back. It's tiny, disposable, and discreet. You could pick, a day's worth in a little blister pack that fits in your wallet or your purse. Compare that with, lugging around diapers that weigh pounds. Again, it's designed to basically limit the risk of UTIs or anything sort of nasty happening. People insert catheters, which are much more rigid and long, very regularly, so we're not really worried about that element as well. But we'll show this out in the study, which we'll talk about. We're not the first to sort of blaze this ground of urethral occlusion or things that are going inside the urethra. Obviously, we talked about things like catheters, but even for urinary incontinence, there's a few devices out there which I'll just suffice to say are largely medieval, and we think we've made a bunch of leaps on them. There's a male device called Contino, which is based in Canada. It's this long silicone plug that is reused over the course of a month. Sounds kind of dreadful. We've actually spoken to someone who's used it, and it is pretty uncomfortable because it's basically going all the way up to the bladder neck. They've raised, I think, something like $15 million of funding. They have paying customers in Canada, and they're looking to expand in the US. And it's a female device, which we will save for Q&A if anyone's interested. So the plan here is we're starting with a male device, and we're preparing for an initial clinical study actually here at Yale to show that it's safe, that it works, human factors are controlled. And we've lined up the pieces to do this. So we have a regulatory team, we have Yale's internal CRO, we have issued IP, which we didn't mention. We have 3 issued patents in the US. Those are issued, and so we're very confident in the IP mode here. We have a prototype that's been tested with extensive bench testing, and we have a manufacturer. And critically, we also have a waiting list of people who want to take part in this study. So one of the big problems with clinical studies is often the enrollment. And in fact, we have more people right now from just socializing this in David's clinic and actually presenting in places like this where people come up to us after saying, I want to be part of this study. So that's the plan with our pre-seed raise to get to that first-in-human study here at Yale. And we basically lined up the pieces to do that. So I talked about this being a really good business, and it's something that I didn't also appreciate very initially, but the more we've learned about it, the more we've come to realize we think this is a great opportunity, and we found investors who agree with us. It's a large and favorable market. Our SOM, which is a bottoms-up calculation, is $3 billion just in the US, just for the male market. It's growing again at a fast rate, and this is a first-order problem for these people. Moreover, we think we can capture a ton of value in this market. People are spending $1,000 to $2,500 a year out of pocket on diapers. This is a terrible solution. They're spending that much money on it. We also think we can compete with them on a unit economic basis and basically match their pricing with really attractive markets and an IP mode. And as you can imagine, the lifetime value of any customer is really good here. We've calculated it a little north of $600 per year per patient. So the plan is to basically bring this to market as far as we need. Ideally, we'll find a partner. We have some early conversations that we're planning and have had a lot of support from Yale's network to basically introduce us. One thing I did mention up front is the environmental impact of this. I'll touch on it just briefly. Basically, adult diapers in developed countries are a larger waste stream by weight than infant diapers. That might surprise you, but it's true, and there's a lot of studies that look into waste, as we've learned. And basically, they're larger. You use them for a longer period of life, and there's basically comparable population sizes as demographics shift. So if we can replace that with something that's 1/200th the material weight, it's a pretty good deal. This is the team. It's me. My background is all over the place. I'm happy to be in life sciences now, but spent time in media at the New York Times, at Google, worked in X, and then I worked at another lab to market spin out from my undergrad. Here's David, and then 2 advisors, Barry Nelbuff, who's a serial entrepreneur here at the business school, and David's colleague, Tom Martin, in urology. So I'll close by saying this is our raise. We are about to close it and hopefully, knock on wood, be oversubscribed. So sort of last call on that front as we wrap things up, which is exciting. So we're happy to be here after a great year and would be happy to answer any questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. It's intriguing. We got a couple of questions, but the first one, the IP. Could you talk a little bit about the IP?
Yeah.
I can imagine that some other similar stuff. What's the focus of the IP?
Yeah, so we feel really lucky with the IP because we were basically granted protection for the core technology here, which is this small plug that goes in to the urethra, small, basically compressed and expands and forms the plug. So it's basically broad enough that we think we have good room to maneuver and are also holding off a lot of people. It protects both men and women. It also protects a medicated version of the device, which can treat things like treatment-resistant ED or urethritis.
Or erectile dysfunction even.
Yeah. And so we think that's a sort of exciting avenues. Yeah, as I said here, David actually self-funded this IP, so Yale doesn't have a claim to it. We're very Yale.
I was happy to give it to them. They didn't want it.
That's not true. But we basically verified with them, and so we feel really good on that front. And yeah, what's your second question?
Yeah, I guess, so the whole adult diaper, that segment is huge, right? So
Yeah.
you're solving one specific problem within that, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what the percentage is?
Yeah, so I mean, the other piece of that market, as you'd imagine, is fecal incontinence, and then there's dual incontinence where you have both. And so, thankfully, urinary incontinence is the majority of that market. It's something like 60% of just urinary incontinence. But those are exclusions, and we'd obviously not be able to take away that market share.
Oh, okay. And then just lastly, I think you said it's a class 2.
Yeah.
I mean, could that be even the consumer side, or is it
So,
that's
yeah, that's a great question.
open up the market quite a bit?
Yeah, we think so. Class 2 devices doesn't preclude the fact that we could eventually become an over-the-counter consumer product. I think it's something like 80% of Class 2 devices start as prescription or are prescription. We think we're going to start there as well, just based on the precedent of other devices that have come before us in this space. We do think Class 2 is the right space, but we think that in the long run, there's OTC conversion potential. It has a lot of, as you can imagine, sister traits with other OTC products like diapers and pads and things of that nature. And we think there's some actually really interesting distribution models for this as well. But we're happy with the prescription route for now because we can leverage, the clinical connections that David has. There's even direct-to-patient routes for this that look really interesting because it's kind of in the same camp of other D2P companies that are kind of for more stigmatized conditions like ED and hair loss and weight loss, where it's actually a very easy thing to do a prescription online for.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that people who are incontinent, they spend $1,500 to $2,000 per year in